Namo for, Namo Fa, Namo saying, homage to the Buddha, homage to the Dharma, homage to the Sangha. Welcome everyone in the teaching hall. Again, we will have a teaching around a booklet named The Art of Keeping the Light, originally 48 methods to Nianfo. Last time we've seen the last part of the small manual, really, that the first part of this text is. We've seen the 3 doors, so important, explaining why we need to practice, why we are in the state we are, and how it actually functions. And then 6 methods. 3 methods which are called exoteric, simple. 2 methods rather esoteric, more internal, subtle, and 1 method that is of another nature, the breath recitation, breath of light. And that concludes really that first part, and we will begin now the second part. There is a section from the original text that we don't see in your booklet, and as we will jump over a passage from the original text, I will tell you a few words about it, as for you know what it contains, but I will not analyze it or comment it line per line as I generally do with the others. So, the 10th section of the original is called Reciting in Accordance with Individual Circumstances. But what it does really is remind us of the habitual tendencies we can have in our practice, and actually, to say it more precisely, the habitual traps we fall in the practice. One of these is lethargy, to be lethargic, to apathic, oh no, I don't want to do this or that, or I don't have time, or I'm too tired for it. And it gives the advice, and we've seen why, regarding circulation of breath, it gives the advice to recite the Buddha name aloud and to circumambulate, which is really to walk with it. That's also why I generally advise to begin meditation practice by walking. Either you say the name aloud or internally, has no big importance. And then you can also be under many thoughts, having many thoughts in your head, and the answer to this is sitting silently, just to recite in your head and to hear with your head, in your head, in your mind. So that is the section we jumped over. The next section of the text, called Buddha recitation can be practiced anywhere. And that is really the taste of this second part of the text, is to answer a few practical questions, but which can be quite subtle. So I read the text. Whether you are in a clean or a dirty place, a quiet, out-of-way location, or the marketplace, a place you like or a place you abhor, you need only engage in introspection and return the light inward. So, you can be anywhere, really. In a quiet place, in a busy place. If you want to practice sincerely, just practice introspection. And we get a sense of what it can mean. Intro, it's something in there. There are many practices which can kind of divert yourself and entertain ourselves. You can visualize many things and whatever. And they can be very efficient. But what it is about here is returning the light around. What is this light? Generally in Buddhist texts and all in Chan texts, when we talk about light, we talk about the light of awareness, the light who casts away the shadow, the light who allows you to see in the dark. And returning the light inwards means that generally our awareness, our attention isn't at the root of our being, isn't returned to itself, isn't an inner attention. We are focused on everywhere. What is around us is so much more interesting than what is inside. And we could not want to see what is inside us. It is not the funniest practice. Oh no, but that's the practice. The text goes on saying, thinking thus, while you return the light, I have encountered situations like this countless times, throughout numerous lifetimes. Yet, there is one thing I have not been able to do, is to recite the Buddha's name and achieve rebirth in the Pure Land. Okay, that's a wonderful passage. I have encountered this situation like this numerous times. You can see it from a very classical Buddhist perspective and talking about reincarnation and stuff, and you can see it also in a very down-to-earth way. There are many lives, and there are also the many instances, the many yous along your life. In a lot of times you could have used that time to introspect, to look into yourself, to see clearly into the shit you don't want to see. That's what it means. It's a kind of bodhicitta code from the guts. That's the intent. Okay, I have great faith, I will do the practice, and I've been avoiding it since now, but now I will do it. And what I haven't been able to do is to recite the Buddha's name and achieve rebirth in the Pure Land, which can also be seen as, is to do the practice fully and drop the ego away, drop body, mind, speech away, drop everything away, and just be and manifest pure acts, pure love, pure light. Let manifest this word through me. Go on with the text. Therefore, even now, I'm still subject to the cycle of birth and death. In Chan we would see this as, even now, because I've been unable to do the practice fully, and to actually see my mind, see the Pure Land, see the mind ground, see my original nature, which is manifesting now and now and now and now. I'm putting myself away from it. And I'm still subject to life and death. And in Chan terms, very simply, to life and death of thoughts. My thoughts are still affecting me in a great way every day. That's what it means in a layman's term. The text goes on. By now, I should not worry about where recitation takes place. No, you should practice everywhere. I need only hold securely, to hold securely to this mind of recitation, to this mind that wants to do the practice and have faith in it. That's great faith, bodhicitta. And bodhicitta itself is pure and clean and has the same nature than samadhi, than nirvana. Even if it costs my life. That means real bodhicitta. I must recite without interruption one recitation after another. And that's really the intent. Not only to physically recite and I will do 10,000 recitation today and do my small retreat and it will be very nice all for me. No, the intent is I will burn myself in the practice, throw away myself, and transfer the merit, because that's very important to all beings, for them to realize their true mind, their true state, their true nature, which is light and life. That's our true nature. That's what Amitabha is. Go on with the text. I must recite without interruption one recitation after another, without a single gap. That's really an important aspect of the practice. If you do practice recitation, do it fully. If you give you a time of formal meditation in your life, in the cushion, or let's say it's every day, do the job fully. It's better to do 50 or 20 minutes of dedicated, sincere, fully saying the words and fully hearing recitation after recitation without any gap, than telling yourself stories and setting yourself, I will do a day of retreat and do 12 hours in a row of a recitation. Be sincere, that's what's important. Maybe then you can organize something more and more and more, but it's important to adapt yourself. Go on with the text. Why is this? It is because if there is a single interruption, all kinds of sundry thoughts, good, bad, neutral thoughts, will arise. And for this reason, even when in the bathroom, even in the process of giving birth, that's a bit too much, you should concentrate on recitating the Buddha's name. The greater the hardship, the greater the suffering, the more you need to recite, just as an infant cries out for his mother, unafraid that she will become upset or angry. Again, it is the intent here that is important, and I think you get it. Do it fully, like an infant crying for his mother. There is really something of existential there. That's great doubt also. I need an answer. I need to know. I need to see. I need to go beyond my natural tendencies even now. And then it explains why when you recite, when you do practice, do it fully without a single gap. Because otherwise thoughts will arise. That is as simple as that. Not only bad thoughts, or also good ones and natural ones. But that's not the point of the practice. What is important is mind, not its content. The nature of mind. Remember that each time we talk about mind, we talk about earth. What we are fully, the most essentially, even if essence is a bad term, especially in Western philosophy, but your own nature. And for this reason, when you give yourself to the practice, even in the bathroom, even when giving birth, actually giving birth as an esoteric or alchemical side to it. I won't enter into it now. But you should recite the Buddha's name. So even in the greatest hardship, and we find the same idea with Kuan Yin, saying the name of Kuan Yin in the Sutra of the Lotus, the Canon Sutra, which is apart from the Sutra of the Lotus. In all desperate situation, call our name. And Kuan Yin is an emanation from the light of Amitabha, which is his nature of light, his boundless nature, but also the light of wisdom, which casts away the shadow. So it's all linked here. That's also why we are so dedicated in our order to Kuan Yin, to our practice, to dedication to the Bodhisattva, to this archetype, if you want to see it in a Western way. So, we'll go on with the 11th section in our booklet, Art of Keeping the Light, the 12th one in the original, called Fixed Periods of Buddha Recitation. That's another question we may have actually. Okay, when do I recitate? I read the text. With the previous method, you are enjoined to practice Buddha recitation at all times, without interruption. When you set a time of practice, let's say I will do a solitary retreat next morning for 4 hours. When you give yourself to it, do the practice fully, all the time. However, because there are no definite periods for Buddha recitation, few people can therefore practice it. Because it is difficult to set yourself periods to recitate without interruption in all life, and even to set a period of time when you do it fully, a kind of retreat, it is difficult. With this method of the expedient of fixed periods of recitation is introduced. Basically, there is an answer to this: fix some periods of recitation and then recite in your daily life. There should usually be 2 periods a day, in the morning and in the evening, and these periods should be strictly observed every day, without fail, throughout life. Actually, that's also what I advise. And we've got a small liturgy that you can see, and I advise you to practice twice a day. But I know also what busy life is. Taking the train every day at 5:30 for quite a long time. And sometimes my own recitation at night or in the morning was simply Amitofo, or simply taking refuge, or simply, when I had a bit more time, chanting the Art Sutra. And at least once a day I tried to do it fully, and to always practice sitting and walking and sitting meditation. In a way or another, the important point is to give it some space every day. It is your duty, especially for clerics, especially for novice priests in training. Even when it's difficult, you are a novice priest, even when you are not with your robes. So a single Amitofo isn't something, everyone can find some time to do that at least twice a day. That's the very, very minimal, and you give yourself to it just as if burning into a fire. But ideally, don't lie to yourself. You should do the most you can. That's it. Furthermore, says the text, if during the 24 periods, the 24-hour period, you can recite the Buddha's name one additional time. Do it once. If you can recite it many times, do so many times. It does not matter whether the recitation is audible or not. So, and if you can add to that many more times in your schedule, when you are waiting for a bus, a train, you are in a queue at your job before going to take a lunch or whatever, make that another time. Formalize that into a new habit of recitating the name of your own nature, pure light and life, Amitofo, or of Kuan Yin. Literally, Kuan Yin means hearing sound. She is the one who hears the sounds, the voices. Who is hearing the sound? You are. You are Kuan Yin. So recite Kuan Yin, Kuan Yin. And if we can find many spots like that, find these spots, use them, and make it a new habit. Then there is a poem. Utter one fewer idle phrase. Recite the Buddha's name one more time. How wonderful it is. Yeah, there is maybe a needless chat that you can suppress and take a walk just by yourself to take a rest in your day and to recite a few Amitofo or Kuan Yin or any name to do the practice. Okay, so that's the end of this teaching. Then there is another teaching, which is really another question, which is very frequent, which is 12th section of the Art of Keeping the Light, 13th section of the original. Facing an image or not during Buddha recitation. I go on with the text. When facing a statue of the Buddha, consider it as a real Buddha. There is no need to get attached to any particular direction or to any of the three bodies of the Buddha. There are a lot of things there. Are they suggesting us to see that statue as a god, a real god, and to, when we bow and we do all those little things, to actually, we know that's not the nature of what is said here. What is a Buddha, really? A Buddha is someone who shed light on his shadow, touched the ground to witness, who manifested it into flesh, into this earth. Bow to that reality in yourself. Don't try to avoid the beauty of humility. Bowing is an extraordinary thing. Just do the practice fully, sincerely. Take it as a moment to drop away your mind, your ego, your body, whatever. That's what the statue is about. There is no need to get attached to any particular direction. Traditional, especially in the Pure Land, because it was a rather esoteric kind of thing in the beginning, was very attached, and Chinese and Taoist conception kind of merged, and directions are also very important in Chinese culture. So it's a brave thing to say for the utter, to just drop that away. What is important really is sincerity in the practice again. And he even says, do not mind, do not care about the three bodies of the Buddha, which kind of manifestation it is. If it is Sambhogakaya, Nirmanakaya, Dharmakaya, whatever. And the text goes on, telling us what we should really have at mind. You should think thus: I must achieve single-mindedness, and that single-mindedness must be about the Buddha. My eyes should be focused on the Buddha's image. My mind should recite the Buddha's name with the most sincerity. With the most sincerity, a response is guaranteed. So we must achieve that concentration on one point, that single-mindedness. And in a way, it is a poison. Thoughts are poisons, and we are entertaining a kind of thought, saying a word. Original Chan Zen wasn't about it. It was just seeing your nature clearly. Yeah, but we have many thoughts, and we will use what poisoned against the original poison. We will use a word. We will use our tendency for words and language. That's very important. We will use our tendency towards words and language against it, to go at its roots, to shed light on its roots. A single thing that is important here is that single-mindedness must be about the Buddha, about light, about our true nature. And then we could recite as a gatha, my eyes should be focused on the Buddha's image, my mind should recite the Buddha's name with the most sincerity. That's a kind of help, that's kind of something to give us bodhicitta, to give us the energy to go towards it, to give us a goal, an objective. That's so important, to give us meaning. And when we have all that, when we have discipline, concentration, we have a goal, and we do it, we give it effort, and we do it with sincerity. We are really doing the practice and not showing that we are doing the practice. That's so easy. So we are really doing the practice and not showing that we are doing it, then a response is guaranteed. That's the kind of response we are talking about here for us Chan practitioners. The text goes on. If you do not have a statue, just sit straight, facing west. Again, give us here a direction. Why? Because our natural tendency, when you sit down first, and you don't have that energy, that bodhicitta, whatever, is to question everything, and you doubt everything, but in a bad manner. Oh, I should be in that posture or this posture, I should use this technique or that technique, face this or that. What it means here is choose a way to practice and do the damn practice. And it advises facing west. If you don't have a statue, an altar, or whatever, choose a way to do it and do it. Don't change in the middle of it. The text goes on. As soon as you begin reciting, visualize the Buddha's light shining on your head. Recitation following recitation without a break. And my throat is hurting, so speaking in English is even more difficult than it is generally. So, if you always practice in this way, even the heaviest karma can be dissipated. So, if you do not have a statue, just sit straight, choose a way, place or whatever, and do it. Now, regarding the type of practice, visualize the Buddha's light shining on your head. That's a way to give you the most beautiful altar there is. The Buddha's light is just here. Of course, again, it is very close to the breath recitation, to the ego flight recitation, to Vajrayana sadhana rituals, at least the first part of them. So yeah, just visualize the Buddha, or just light, or just a circle of light on your head, and just recitate. And the wonderful altar, the Buddha is just here. And without a break, just recitate. And in this way, even the heaviest karma can be dissipated. There is an important practice which is called the Vajrasattva practice of purification, which is also about life, purificating your karma, through generally recitation of his name or of his long mantra. That is something from a Tibetan origin, but it also exists actually in every Vajrayana country, and it existed in China also because Tibetan Vajrayana came back in a way to China. Anyway, an important practice. So that was the last practice, the last section of the text of part 2 for today. Next teaching will be about the following section of part 2. Amitofo.